First and foremost, one of the things that I want to mention is Boston's Black Spending Breakdown. So this was recently in the Banner. Shout out to the Banner and all that they do. Boston's Black Spending Breakdown. Is your company reaching this market? The Banner has income of Boston Blacks is $4.3 billion in Boston. In Boston. 4.3 billion. So every time one of your friends tell you they ain't got no money, 4.3 billion. Estimated expenditures by all black households in the metro of Boston, Mass. These figures are in the millions. So $209 million of Boston's Black Spending Breakdown, $209 million on clothes and services. As far as clothes are concerned, having clothes made for you, having clothes designed for you, having clothes, money that you spend on clothes. I would prefer you spend $209 million with some of these local designers, some of these local seamstress. I want to give a huge shout out to Couples Therapy in Dudley. Couples Therapy located in between Upham's Corner and Dudley, right next to the Four Corners train track. That is not their address. Let me get the address. Couples Therapy, they make clothes over there. Josepha makes clothes. Claude Michelle makes clothes. Like, these are not endorsements. These are not sponsorships. These are just people that are in our area that make clothes that you could be spending your money with. Instead of spending $200 on some jeans, Claude Michelle makes jeans. Why don't you go ahead and spend your money with him? Spend your money with Josepha. Spend your money with Couples Therapy. Why are we spending our money where we're not wanted? We are needed. Let's make a dent. Appliances, $27 million. Alcoholic beverages, $28 million. Non-alcoholic beverages, $43 million. Do you know, what's my dude's name? The Slush Master, who makes alcoholic drinks and delivers them. And they're little slushies. They look amazing. Books, $2 million on books. It's the least amount of spending that we spend anywhere in this long list of things that we spend $4.3 billion on. $2 million on books. We are messing up. That's a problem. Josepha's is at 1225 River Street in Hyde Park, right across the street from Zaz. As far as food is concerned, we spend $698 million on food. $698 million. You don't think for 5 seconds that Zaz doesn't want your business? And I'm going to shout out ZC Boston all day long because I work there on the Thursdays. That's how much I eat there, that I need to work there. We need, come on. I need you to wake up. And I don't mean take the crust out of your eyes, brush your teeth. I need you to see how much power you have when it comes to that dollar. Books, $2 million. Cars and trucks, either new or used, $224 million. Computers, $50 million. Consumer electronics, $35 million. Contributions, I don't know what contributions mean. Maybe that means giving of the church. If it's $195 million that we give to the church, I'm going to need for y'all to start giving to somebody who's actually doing something for our community. And I say that wholeheartedly. I don't want to sit here and take away your tithes. I don't want you to think that you don't need to give money to the church, but I need you to start giving to the church that gives to the community. Because when the pastor got a brand new house and the pastor got a brand new car, but yet there are people in the congregation that are still struggling, that don't have their lights on, that, people in the congregation are helping them out and giving them a couch to sleep on. What the pastor doing? When your barber, everything is real, is doing more than the pastor, we got a problem. Can you start giving your money to people who start giving their time and money and energy to people that don't have? Does your church bank with a black bank? Does your church bank locally? Does your church teach you about the healthy food you should eat. Facebook is over here like, Tayla, where you at? Where you at? I'm sorry, babies. I'm sorry. I was trying to get the right little hashtag. It wasn't working the way I wanted it to. So we just gonna go live regardless. With no title. I just need y'all to be mindful. Just wake up, everybody. No more sleeping. Are we dumb? I want to give us so much credit, but we're not acting accordingly. Allow me to remind you that the bus boycott in Alabama took place for over a year. For over a year, they did not take the bus. They didn't have social media. They didn't tweet each other. They didn't text each other. They picked up the phone and they made a phone call. Baby, where you need to go, let's go ahead and figure this out. Everybody got to work on time. Everybody got to work one together. There were no fussing, no fighting, and no one took the bus. The reason why they said, y'all Negroes can sit in the front of the bus is because the white bus drivers were not, they had to quit. They weren't making any money. They were being fired. They were being laid off. Because you did not take the bus. Can you please not spend $698 with food that you know is absolutely disgusting, genetically modified, failed? Can we please do that? Gifts, $71 million. Healthcare. 252 million. Education, 62 million. We spend 62 million on education, but we'll spend 71 million on gifts. But we'll spend 209 million on clothes. 62 million. We'll give the church 195 million, but when's the last time you gave to your school? When's the last time you're an alum, right? When's the last time you gave money to your school? College, whether it's college or high school or middle school, or just went and spent your time with some children. Healthcare, 252 million. Household furnishings and equipment, 150 million. Houseware, 4 million. Housing and related charges, 2,000. So this is really 1,000 equals a billion. So it's 2,340 million. Housing and related charges. Insurance, 203 million. Media, news, whatever you watch on television, whatever you subscribe to, whatever shows you want to watch, 96 million. Miscellaneous, we don't know where your money's going, 59 million. Personal and professional services, 49 million. Personal care products and services, 76 million. That's $76 million that you could be getting. $76 million of hair care products that you could be getting this money with. We are not spending our money appropriately. We are not spending our money with our businesses. We are not spending our money with our neighbors. Shop locally. I really don't care if they're black, white, purple, green. Keep your money in your neighborhood. Keep it in your community. And unfortunately, for us, that means keeping it in the black community. Keep it in your neighborhood. Keep that dollar going. So maybe it can go from 8 minutes to 10 minutes. That's a start, right? Let's start somewhere. Telephone service is 180 million. But yet, one more time, you go back to education, we're only at 62 million. But you'll spend on your phone 180 million. Tobacco products and smoking supplies, 34 million. Half of education, toys, games, pets, 27 million. Travel, transportation, and lodging, 71 million. Shout out to Target Market Media from 2014. That's where this information comes from. Boston's Black Breakdown, $4.3 billion. Wake up! Everybody! No more sleeping in bed. Hopefully some of y'all are up. Because a lot of y'all aren't. Where my baby at that was calling? I left you on hold. I'm sorry, baby. Call back. WikiLeaks boss will release damaging information about Hillary tomorrow after initially canceling the October surprise speech from embassy balcony. Listen, I've been waiting for this Hillary speech for a long time now. Either you're going to give it to us or you're not. Julian Assange has originally planned to address the world from the balcony of the Ecuadorian embassy in London on Monday. He was due to speak at the 10th anniversary of the founding of WikiLeaks. Assange will instead speak video link to an event in Berlin on Tuesday. The organization earlier released information hacked from the Democrats. It came as a new report claimed that Clinton had proposed a drone strike to take out Assange in 2010. So you just gonna kill the WikiLeaks because he's leaking all the information. You just drone kill him, huh? Hey, what did Obama say? We gotta continue the legacy. The legacy will be continued. You know how many drone strikes were taken out during Obama's presidency? I'll leave that there. Connecticut Supreme Court overturns the $12 million sexual abuse verdict against the Boy Scouts of America after the trial judge improperly denied a defense request. Irving, Texas branch of the Boy Scouts of America was sued in 2012. The plaintiff, who identified as John Doe, alleged sex abuse from older scouts. The $12 million lawsuit alleges that the Boy Scout leaders failed to protect him. The jury's verdict was overturned by Connecticut Supreme Court on Monday. 3 justices believe the case should be dismissed because of a 2-year statute of limitation on lawsuits alleging negligence and recklessness. I think this is absolutely ridiculous because while we're over here trying to crucify Bill Cosby, while we're crucifying Bill Cosby for, you did this, we're going to take you, we're going to sue you, there are no statute of limitations. Because of Bill Cosby, California is altering their policies on the statute of limitation when it comes to sexual assault. But yet the Boy Scouts, how does Connecticut think that it's okay? And first and foremost, Irving, Texas branch of Boy Scouts was sued. How did it make its way all the way to the Connecticut Supreme Court? I got a lot of learning to do because last time I checked, in Texas, they have their own Supreme Court on the West Coast. Why was it the fact that happened to me? I accept it for myself, let alone come out into the public and say, this person touched me, raped me, assaulted me, molested me. 2 years, that's it? Where's our common sense? Our white cop is stripped of his badge after shocking footage emerges. I saw this video probably about a week and a half ago. You probably did too, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, of the man that was sitting on his mother's porch talking about, no, my mom lives here. Like, I live here, my mom lives here, I come and visit her every day. I left my key somewhere. And the cop's like, no, call your mom. Call her. He's a grown man. This ain't no little boy. This is a grown man with kids somewhere. And the officer's like, call your mother. Call your mother. And he's like, Ma, like, I'm out here, I don't have no key. The police officer harassed me. Like, after a while, he's getting frustrated. He's like, yo, just leave me alone. I live here. This is my mother's house. And the cop's like, nah, the lady said that somebody was trying to break into the house. You look like a burglar. Oh, so your neighbors don't know you. It was being very facetious. All that. The cop is now stripped of his badge after footage emerges of him body slamming and punching a black man for sitting on the porch of his mother's home. Dewan Yorst was arrested on June 17th while waiting for his mother to come home in Greensboro, North Carolina. Police were called to the house following reports of a possible break-in. Yorst explained to officers he lived at the house, but he was arrested. Body camera footage shows the officer using excessive force. The cop has since resigned and been stripped of his police powers. Now, one of the questions, what would have been best on my due diligence, is if I would have found out if North Carolina has that statute where police officer will have his badge stripped from him and will never be able to be a police officer or a security officer ever again. Because once that license is taken from you, like we're trying to get here in Massachusetts, so if you do something stupid in Newton, you can't just come to Boston and say, hey, I want to be a police officer. Sergio, good rising. Corey, good rising. V from Tennessee, good rising. Good rising to all those that are on YouTube, Facebook. I want to give a huge shout out to Trauma in the Village, a Boston regional gathering. This is going to be on December 9th, 2016, from 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. This is going to be a 2-day long summit. This is going to be at the Bruce Boiling Building, 2300 Washington Street in Roxbury. On Friday, December 9th, COSBAC, the Coalition of Schools Educating Boys of Color, along with C-Plan, will host a regional gathering. For C-Plan, it's the Collaborative Parent Leadership Action Network. They also have the Boston Public Schools as well as the Boston Foundation as sponsors. This is a Trauma in the Village, this special workshop for service providers, caregivers, educators, professionals, policymakers. This is the first featuring COSBAC's 10th annual gathering in New York City. I don't know if you guys remember when I left for my birthday and went to New York. It was not to party. It was to go and visit COSBAC, and we brought what we learned at COSBAC to Boston December 9th. The workshop will provide participants with a powerful framework for reshaping the culture, practices, and policies of their organization to ensure that it is sensitive to the experience and the needs of traumatized individuals, families, and communities that they serve. If you live in Boston, you need to be here. If you dealt with any form of trauma, you need to be there. We have Professor Charles Ogletree, the Harvard Law School and founder of the Charles Hamilton Houston Institute for Law and Social Justice, as well as Dr. Lonice Baez, the National Advocate for Children and mother of Len Baez, selected #1 by Boston Celtics, and who died from cocaine overdose. All of the information is on my page. Please come out. Please take a look at it. And for the parents, I just wanted to tell you really, really quickly, you can opt out of testing. Anari does not test well. Anari gets really frustrated very easily. He has migraines and headaches, and just testing overwhelms him. And I feel as if at his school, they overtest my children. So I did my due diligence, and I found that I can opt out. Opting out means that I can refuse for my children to take tests such as PARCC or MCAS. You have this option. The teacher called me. The dean of students called me. The director called me. And they were like, Tayla, we know how you operate. We know that you're okay with the decision that you made, or you wouldn't have made the decision, but we just wanted to, they're going to pressure you. They're going to, this is in the best interest of your child. This is in the best, if you feel your child would be best served not taking these tests, and I think PARCC is every 6 weeks, every 8 weeks. They have this all day long is dedicated to taking a test every 6 weeks. I want my child to learn, not my child to be a robot. And I don't know if you were listening to the I sued the Department of Education. I'll play it again before we leave. Opting out is not illegal. Don't let them tell you that. If you don't have the ability for your child to stay home and for you to, have worksheets and websites for them to work on, your child will be probably sitting in the office doing homework. I'm being transparent. It's not for everybody. During the time that my children test, they're at home doing mommy's homework. What does that mean? That means y'all need to learn Christopher Columbus didn't discover America and some other things that they probably lied to you about. Lies my teacher told. Shout out to James Lowen. Passing the state high school test is a requirement for high school diploma. It is. That 10th grade MCAS, everybody, I took the damn test freaking 15 years ago. Like, you have to take MCAS in the 10th grade in order for your child to get a diploma. But there is no state penalty for students who opt out in grades 3 through 8. Some schools use their scores in choosing students for advanced work, but most do not. You can check whether your school does, or you can go ahead. I've posted this online. You can go for Citizens for publicschools.org, the facts on opting out of MCAS or PARCC, and get all the information that you need. I know this is a lot of information about what's going on in the community, but I feel nobody else is telling us what's going on. The city hall isn't doing a great job at communicating some of the things that are going on in the city. The state house isn't doing a great job at communicating what's going on in the state. So we have to educate ourselves. Morehouse College experienced the prospective student information session. This is put together by the Greater Boston Morehouse College Alumni Association. If you have a son, I send Anari to this every single year with any of his friends, with any of his cousins, with anybody who will let kids spend the night that night. I let them attend. If you or your child is interested in being a man of Morehouse, the Greater Boston Morehouse College Alumni Association invites prospective students to attend an information session about Morehouse College. An admissions officer will be present to answer any questions regarding campus culture, admissions qualifications, financial aid, and more. Of course, light refreshments will be available. This is between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Thursday, October 6th at the Bospoli building. I just want you guys to be mindful of what's taking place in the city. This, as well as others, are currently on the Wake Up with TaylaAndre page. Please educate yourself. And I said this yesterday. I'm going to say it again because I think it's so important. Opal Lee is walking across the United States of America trying to get to DC and trying to get her 100,000 signatures. Baby, if you know anything about a damn Juneteenth, can you please go to my page on Facebook, TaylaAndre, and go sign the petition to make Juneteenth a national holiday. It should have been a national holiday over 60 years ago, but hey, we gotta take it one step at a time. Apparently, in 2016, if you have went to a Juneteenth cookout, if you went to a Juneteenth play, if you heard about Juneteenth on this show, please go to TaylaAndre, TaylaAndre, and sign the petition. We need 100,000 signatures by October 27th, or her request to have Juneteenth as a national holiday will die. It will die. So you're either for it or against it. And if you're for it, sign the petition. And if you don't, then damn, baby, you're against it. Protests continue after the 18-year-old is killed by the LAPD. A crowd of protesters shut down the intersection at 108th and Western in Los Angeles Saturday to protest the killing of 18-year-old unarmed black man Carnell Snell Jr. from South Central. I'm so sick and tired of a brand new name every damn day. Police say Snell was armed with a gun, although he was shot 5 times as he was running from police. The events leading up to the shooting on Saturday began when officers say they tried to stop a vehicle they suspected to be stolen. The driver of the vehicle failed to stop and police gave chase. When the car came to a stop, 2 passengers got out of the car and ran in different directions. Police say officers chased Snell towards the back of the house, where they shot him 5 times and killed him in front of his house. Police have not spoken publicly about what happened those moments before the shooting, but they did say that a handgun was found at the scene, which neighbors and locals do not believe. Police have not found the driver of the vehicle nor the other passenger. As news of the shooting spread through the neighborhood, dozens of local activists and demonstrators gathered on the outskirts of the police tape protesting the shooting. A police officer should not be the judge, the jury, and the executioner. I totally agree. On all levels. A Georgia teacher is investigated after calling Michelle Obama a gorilla on Facebook. I think this is a waste of money. The Forsyth County teacher in Georgia is under investigation after posting photos on Facebook which referred to Michelle Obama as a gorilla. Jane Wood Allen, a teacher at Chastasti Elementary School in Gainesville, Georgia, posted a photo of the First Lady referring to her as a gorilla and also made reference to all the money she spends on vacationing. Sounds like a hater to me. No, it doesn't. It sounds like she wants to know where her tax-paying dollars are going. According to Jennifer Carico, spokeswoman for the school district. The school's county officials were told about the Facebook post on Friday, and of course, Allen's Facebook page was deleted after photos went viral. Our schools are closed for fall break this week. We have and will continue to address the issue with the employee next week. Racism and discrimination are not tolerated in these schools, and we'll see how long it is while she still is educated boys and girls of color. Woosah, Tayla, woosah. An Arkansas lawmaker arrested for filming police, and charges were later dropped. An Arkansas state representative who helped pass legislation that protects the rights of citizens to photograph and record police was himself arrested after filming during a traffic stop. The irony! The irony! According to Arkansas Times, John Walker, 79 years old, a civil rights attorney and a Democratic state representative from Little Rock, Arkansas, was arrested along with his colleague, civil rights attorney Omavi Kushkuru, also known as Amari Shakur, 29, on September 26, after they stopped to film the actions of Little Rock police who were in the process of arresting a fellow black man and walking him to a patrol car. According to reports, police stopped the vehicle because it didn't have a license plate. The driver of the vehicle, Cedric Bell, 27, also did not have a valid license, and a records check showed that he had outstanding warrants. Police handcuffed Bell, and the officer, Reynolds, was walking him to the patrol car when Bell noticed Walker filming the interaction. Bell reportedly asked Reynolds what Walker was doing. "I'm just making sure they don't kill you," Walker replied. Officers said they attempted to speak with Walker, but he kept talking over them in an antagonistic manner. Reynolds claims in the report officers eventually Officers eventually moved away from Walker and went back to the traffic stop where the passenger was in the vehicle. Gary Gregory, 24, was found to have a full failure to appear warrant. As police began to arrest Gregory, Walker and Kashuru reportedly approached the vehicle involved in the traffic stop. Officers say that they warned the two men repeatedly not to come any closer, and if they do, they were going to be arrested. So, of course, Reynolds at that point said, "Arrest me!" And that's exactly what was done. So, baby, let me tell you something. I learned a long time ago that watching Law and Order does not make you knowledgeable of the law. Just because they say they finna arrest you, and you're like, "Then arrest me then." They will arrest you. They will arrest you. And you were arrested. And I do understand. I am that person. I have no problem filming cops. I have no problem asking cops questions. They're like, "Tayla, go sit down somewhere because this idiot had a gun in the passenger seat and was speeding, has no license, and this is his girlfriend's car. That's not registered." So you do have to be mindful of the battles that you choose. You have to. There's a war that we're trying to win, baby. There's a war that we're trying to win. So this was sent to me. I did not write this, but I do want to talk about it. Is it Power Hour yet? Oh, yes. Yes, it's Power Hour. So, Boston City Councilor bought and sold Kids Be Damned. This is the name of the article. There is something insidious about Boston City Councilor Tito Jackson growing up in Roxbury, being afforded the unique privilege of attending Brookline schools, and now leading the charge against school choice for families in the very same neighborhood he's supposed to represent. Jackson wants to be mayor. I'm pretty sure that's not a secret. And I want to tell you 100%, I did not write this. It was sent to me and asked if I could report on this. And we are going to piggyback off this report and talk about it for Power Hour. Okay? Jackson wants to be mayor. I'm pretty sure that's not a secret. And he has strategically embedded himself in the blood sport of education politics, working alongside union-backed organizations, encouraging students to walk out of school and attend city council meetings, and now is championing a resolution to keep the current charter cap and vote no on question 2. It's hard to find him anywhere without a giant vote no sign nearby. Tito's repeated comments about charter schools demonstrate that he is either totally misinformed as to how the schools work, or more likely scenario, that he sold his soul to special interests because winning elections is more important to him than ensuring that all children in his district have educational opportunities like he did. One has to ask, how can Tito even be serious with his rhetoric? How can he look at Boston Public School budget that rose every year from $737 million in 2011 to over $1 billion today and still spread the lie that giving parents quality choice siphons money from traditional school systems? Perhaps his mistaken budgeting are explained by the Boston Globe's analysis that Tito only appeared for slightly more than a quarter of the hearings for the Ways and Means Committee. No choice for you. Tito Jackson's family exercised school choice, and no one holds that against Tito for the excellent education he received in Brookline. We do, however, take issue with his hypocrisy. Again, TaylaAndre did not write this. This was sent to me. I am reading it on behalf of a listener who thinks that it is important for us to pay attention. This is an opinionated piece, and we are going to piggyback off this piece for Power Hour. However, we do take issue with the hypocrisy that has become a poster child for saying, do as I say, not as I do. And sadly, his constituents, both parents and children, are victims of his double standard. Black and Latino parents overwhelmingly support school choice, both nationally and locally. A national 2015 survey conducted by the Black Alliance for Educational Options showed that 70% of Black voters support having more educational options in their communities. Recent polling of Boston parents find that 75% of them support lifting the charter cap, with support highest among Black and Latino parents. Tito Jackson is an elected official in the Black community, but he isn't listening. When we see reading and math scores decline in both 4th and 8th grades in 2015, the National Assessment of Educational Progress, the NAEP, we know that change is needed. And when we see 70% of support for more parent choice options, such high quality traditional public charter and scholarship programs, it's a strong indicator that Black voters know what they want for their children and are engaged in the education reform process. This was from Director of Policy and Research Tiffany Forrester. The real subscription to poverty. Before voting to give himself a $20,000 raise, City Councilor Tito Jackson lamented his current salary of $87,500 a year and said public service should not be a subscription to poverty. Meanwhile, Tito Jackson is known for working hard to vote in raises for himself and his fellow councilors. He is so disconnected from reality that he fails to realize that denying kids educational opportunities is the real subscription to poverty. Without strong educational foundation like the one that Tito received in Brookline, children in his community can only dream of making $87,000 a year. From the floor of Boston City Council chambers, Tito argued that salary constituted poverty for him. The reality for Tito's constituents in Roxbury is much different. The federal poverty line is $24,000 for a family of 4. Can he really argue that a household with 3 times the income and 3 less people is equally impoverished? Tito Jackson has lost his way. Let's not allow him to take our children with him. This, again, is an opinion piece. This was sent to me, and it was asked if it could be read, and it falls in line with what should education look like. What does education look like? In the city of Boston, hashtag BOSPoly, hashtag MAPoly, as far as education is concerned in our city, we have MECO, right? We have Boston Public and we have Charter. Yesterday with Jeff Simone, we discussed charter and what that looks like as far as the financial services and, the money coming out and the siphoning. You guys is taking all the money from public schools. And Jeff's like, no, Go back, do your due diligence, and read, and you'll see that the money's not there. What they're talking about, it's not there. Go read question 2. It's not there. What does education look like? Like, we've been fighting for how long, baby? We had one of the nastiest integrations ever, and it was all caught on film. The throwing of stones, the huge NIGG, you know the rest in Hyde Park. Like, we know our history, do we not? What is the solution? And I played the clip. Let me see if I can go ahead and play it again. But I played that clip of the young man's poem about how education is not what it's supposed to be. When you look at a car from 100 years ago and you look at a car of today, they're two different vehicles. When you look at a telephone of 100 years ago and a telephone of today, they're two different things. But when you look at education from 150 years ago and education of today, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. So what exactly do we need as far as education is concerned? Who needs to be the champion of education? Does it need to be your city councilor who does not have any children, who's currently not married? Who went to a Brighton school, who doesn't know the struggle that you face as a parent, dealing with a teacher who doesn't care, dealing with a principal who is unqualified, dealing with a superintendent that never lived in our city. Who should be the spearhead of education? Personally, I believe it's the parents. Personally, I believe it's the students. Personally, I believe, opinion, not fact, that together with parents and students, those are the ones that need to lead the way as far as education is concerned. What are the things that the parents need? What are the things that the children want? How do our children learn? We need to start teaching our children based on how they learn and not trying to put them in a cookie cutter position of, well, Johnny learns like that, so you have to learn like Johnny. I'm going to go ahead and play it again in case you didn't hear it the first time. It's called The People versus the School System. You probably watched it on Facebook. I think it is an amazing poem that really champions what people are feeling and saying as far as education is concerned nationwide. I don't know whether or not this is... We'll find out. But I want to go ahead and play it for our listeners. You are tuned in to Big City 101.3 FM, Waking Up with TaylaAndre, Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 7. Again, this is The People versus the School System. Now, as far as y'all are concerned, I don't know if that clip is copywritten and if they are going to take claim to it. So if they take claim to it, that means that I no longer... It won't be posted on Facebook, and I won't own the rights on YouTube. So, if you don't know what it is, just Google it really quickly.
Tell me, school, are you proud of the things you've done? Turning millions of people into robots. Do you find that fun?
So let me go back and read some of these comments really quickly. I'm going back. What up, Miss Andre? What's going on, V from Tennessee? Kemian out of California. Latoya, good rising, my queen. Julia Mahia, I love my mentor. Corey said the system in our society is totally fucked up. Yeah, I seen that on the news. They just don't effing learn. These dirty cops. I would have effed that cop up badly. You probably would have got effed up your damn self, Corey. Tayla in the rising, hallelujah. Corey, I'm coming on my porch and being assaulted. Good rising, Reggie B. Good AM, rising of the sun. I got that book, Lies My Teacher Told, the new update and revised version. That is true because he did update it and revised it. Sergio said, I completely agree. I'm telling my child to opt out. I feel like the SATs is all that matters. Corey said, I had to do a book report about lies my teacher told way back in high school. I'm being lazy, y'all. I'm sorry. That baby's tired. Where is the location again? Sergio, the location of what? I'm a little slow. I think I've heard and seen that Juneteenth thing on your videos and Facebook page and everywhere else on social media. Sign the petition. We need y'all to sign the petition as far as Juneteenth is concerned. She needs 100,000 signatures. We need to help her. Modern day lynching by the hands of police. MECO and charter schools are completely different entities. I didn't say they were the same. They're options. Anne Marie Clark Borden. MECO and charter schools are in public schools. Listen, it's an option, right? You might get pregnant today and try and put your child on MECO today, but it's an option, and it was an option because public schools were fucked up in the first place. We're not on air, so this is we can be explicit. Right now, public schools have been fucked up. I hate the fact that everyone's acting like, damn, we just found out public schools are fucked up. We didn't just find out. Like, they've been fucked up for so long that when you take a look back at when our parents were going to school and they were integrated in the schools, MECO existed so that we could get quality education. That's the real reason why MECO exists, so we could have quality freaking education, because we weren't getting it in the city. Charter schools came in, 22 years ago, because we wanted to try something new. Let's see if we can try something new and implement it in Boston Public, because right now, this shit ain't working. It's not working. So am I for charter schools? Yes, and Ari and Asaria attend charter schools. But do I think that we need 12 charter schools opening a year? I think that's a little excessive. I think it's very excessive. And I think we need to figure out what works for our kids. Stop doing the same shit over and over again. We've been doing the same shit for 150 years, and the schools, nothing in the schools changed. Nothing has changed. So if nothing's changed, why aren't we trying something new and trying something different? Good rising. Police been killing black people for years. They act like they are the law when they actually they're a representative of the law. It is us, the taxpayers, who pay them their checks to stop crime, but they take it upon themselves to kill when they feel. It's not going to stop till black people do something about it. Look this up, Tayla. If the police don't make so many arrests by the end of the year, the federal government can file charges against the state. So what's up with that? People looking for dumb crime like drinking in public and smoking herb. I feel sorry. Oh, the phone lines are open, baby. I totally agree with you. One of my sons is struggling in Cambridge Public School. I'm trying to figure out how he learns and understands. It's frustrating. The more house night. Oh, it's at, what's that thing called? What does Juneteenth mean and what is it for? Key me in. Yo, key me in. We're finna fight if you really mean that. You don't know what Lord of mercy. So we have 50 seconds.
This is a world in which I believe, a world where fish are no longer forced to climb trees. I'll rest my case.
I rest my case. I'm totally with the brother. I 100% agree. You can't sit here and judge our children, any of our children, black, white, Latino, Asian. You can't judge our children because they don't sit down in a cookie cutter. Like, they're not pieces of machinery. You just don't put babies on conveyor belts and say, here, go to class. Here, go to class. Here, go to class. It doesn't work like that. Timbuktu, Kush, when you think about how we used to learn, when I think about education, I think about Native Americans. I don't know how or why, but the way my brain is set up, I think about Native Americans. I think about sitting with my tribe. I think about, going with the elder over here to learn about the herbs for a couple hours, and then going with elder over here to learn how to plant, and then going with elder over there to learn how to sew, and then sitting with elder over here learning about fables and the stories of our past, and then sitting with the youth over here and, teaching them what you just learned throughout the day. I feel as if education has always been a communal thing, so why don't we teach our children the way that they learn? Why aren't we teaching our children to I remember being in school and hating being in the damn classroom. We never learned outside. So recently I spent time with an Airbnb who was from Russia. And it was two different, Russians speaking to each other. And they were just like, one of the things that I found is like Americans are dumb. They don't know the names of animals. They don't know the names of plants. They don't know the names of trees. And I'm like, you know the names of trees? They're like, yeah, we know the names of trees. We know the names of plants. We know, what plants have medicinal use. We know what plants are edible. We know what plants, not just the poison ivies and poison sumacs of the world. Like, they know all of the plants and the principles and the properties that the plants have. Trees have the birds and what species they are and where they derive from. Like, it's insane. What is education supposed to look like? Is it supposed to be, are you happy with your child being in a classroom, sitting down like a good little pupil with their back straight? I can't tell you how Anari got a detention for slouching. And this is another thing that I can't stand about charter schools. Don't sit here and come to me and call me about my child's behavior, talking about he got an automatic detention because he was slouched over. I can't tell you how much learning I did like this, with my hand on my face and your elbows on the, like, we have adults that are in meetings that slouch. We have adults in meetings with their legs crossed in the chair, shirts covering because they're cold, feet propped up on the table. Like, how does that dictate me learning because I'm sitting up straight with my arms folded and I look like I'm paying attention? Like, I'm daydreaming. I don't want to be in a classroom. And Fifth Element. The Fifth Element came out in 1995? In 1995, I was wanting, needing to learn the way that Lilu Multipass, when she had the television in front of her and she went through A through Z of like every topic and just looked at memes. When you think about it, it was nothing but memes that were passing her by. When she looked up war, it was nothing but memes passing her by. When she looked up love, it was nothing but memes, like giving you a visual understanding. And then you go back and you think about the measure and the fact that it wasn't actual letters but pictures that represented sentences. Like, can we please tap into our children's natural ability to learn and then build off that? 617-282-0062. What does education look like? What is education supposed to look like? Because I know Jeff said yesterday that he's going to go back and do his due diligence, but when we have brothers and sisters coming from the Caribbean that didn't have big, huge, multi-million-dollar school buildings, but they have an education in the grade point average that supersedes us here, that supersedes our $4 million school, that supersedes our $2.3 million school. What does education for your child look like? What do we need to do as parents? Because we need to I want to go back to the $4.3 billion that income of Boston blacks. The amount of money that we're spending. Education, $62 million. $62 million. But we have no problem paying $209 million on clothes. We need to redirect our energies, redirect our focus. Wake up. Everybody, no more sleeping in bed. We have some callers on the line, 617-282-0062. Good rise and call you live.
Good. How you doing?
Super fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm going to say something, don't get mad, but the thing is, the number one person to blame is the parent. The reason why I'm saying it's the parent's fault. If you don't invest in your kids, no one else is going to invest in on your kids. A lot of people believe that the teacher's going to be here to teach my kids, but you play the big role model. If there's parent-teachers meetings, and then it's like 90% are minorities, and then 1% show up, and then the 3 or 5% that are Caucasian, white, they, all their family show up. They're going to make a decision that's not going to benefit us. So we need to find out, like, why do we have charter school in Boston? Why? I'm asking myself the same thing. Why don't we have charter school in Canton? in the suburb. Why? Because the parent part is part of the solution. You know, they're making a decision. The parents say no. They will vote the mayor out. They will vote whoever's part of it. This is the thing that we need to be part of it. Once we start being part of our kids' life, you know, when your kids come home, instead of letting them watch TV, watching what's going on in reality TV, just sit them down together and go over their homework.
So one of the things I like to say is I'm not mad. First of all, you bring up some valid points. Parents are responsible. Parents need to be more responsible. Parents need to take responsibility. I get that. What I do understand is, you know, going back through my childhood when my mother had 3 jobs and was going to school. I don't know how she did it, but she did it. And a lot of our parents did the same, having multiple jobs, never being home. We taking care of our siblings, being the eldest, because our parents were never home. You know, heating food up that was cooked days earlier or the day before so we could eat dinner because the parents were never home. Like, what about those parents that make sure that your homework's done? Those parents that check in on you to make sure that your schoolwork's where you're supposed to be, your grade point is where it's supposed to be. But I have 2 and 3 jobs because my rent is $1,800 for a 2-bedroom. Like, these are the parents these are the situations that a lot of our students are dealing with, a lot of our parents are dealing with. We just can't take, thank you, city councilor, former city councilor. I can see his face in my head. Damn it. He made it possible. Charles Yancey, thank you. Thank you, Charles Yancey, for giving us Boston residents the opportunity to take 3 days off. But, you know, those 3 days off and my employer not firing me for those 3 days doesn't equate to me getting paid for those 3 days to ensure that my rent's paid. I can't miss 2 hours, let alone 2 days. Yes, parents are the beginning and the end when it comes to education, but at the same time, if I wanted to homeschool my kids, they'd be homeschooled. I don't have the time nor the know-how to do it. I can only stay on my child to be in that classroom, to be present, to get that knowledge that I can't give them. And I need the teacher to be in front of that classroom, understanding my struggle, not coming from Wisconsin, teaching my baby, Teach for America, getting that loan decreased. I need that person in front of that classroom to look like my baby, to act like my baby, to understand where my baby comes from, and to teach my baby the way my baby learns. And as parents, we do need to speak up. Like, listen, this in the classroom 24 hours a day, 8 hours in a classroom ain't working. Think about what you do. Think about your job. Do you sit down for 8 hours and not move? 617-282-0062. Good rising, caller, you live.
Good rising, Joe.
Good rising.
Listen, I think it would be more responsible and fair to have. Now, I haven't lately been a big fan of Tito Jackson, but I think it's responsible and fair to have him come in and say something about this opinion editorial, because opinion editorials are just that, opinions, and they're only as credible as the person writing them. And just because it's published in a newspaper that hasn't necessarily been the best friend of the black community doesn't make it credible. And you know, the meeting that I was at, the town hall meeting last Thursday, there were many black education professionals that agreed with his take on this particular issue. Now, we as a community have to really learn not to throw out the baby with the bathwater. And if Tito has been wrong on every other issue or one particular issue, it doesn't mean that when he weighs in on the right side.
Albert Einstein once said, everybody
just discredited because he was wrong on a previous issue or several other issues for that matter. So I think it would be fair to give him an opportunity to defend himself. And again, I'm not a big fan of his. I'm very disappointed in him. I gave him I would give him a third. But if he's right on one issue, we can't deal with him based on him being wrong on all the other issues. That's just my opinion.
I totally agree. I'll give Tito a call. I love City Councilor Tito Jackson. My children love City Councilor Tito Jackson. I may not agree with a lot of the decisions that he's recently made as far as education is concerned, but that doesn't take away the fact that I still love him as a person. My kids pick up the phone and call him like they're the same age, like they have problems. But, you know, as a person, there are no issues. There's no problem. So I definitely will reach out to him today and see, as far as that editorial piece is concerned, if he would like to speak on that. It was asked of me to read it, Tayla. And it wasn't the writer who sent it to me. It was a parent who was just completely up in arms with what's going on with all of education, not just charter versus district, which is, you know, as far as opinions are concerned, I think it is absolutely ridiculous. And this is why I started working and became a C-plan parent, because I thought that it made no sense for me to be in spaces and the only focus was adults yelling and screaming at each other about charter versus district, and it was just parents screaming at each other, and nobody was talking about the kids. Nobody was talking about the babies. All means all. I don't care whether it's a charter school, whether it's a public school. I don't care. All the way to the MECO students. Like, I think that we need to do everything that we can do to figure out how our students learn. We have over 134 schools in Boston Public. I'm not understanding why we don't have one school for mathematics, another school if you want to be a nurse, another school. Like, why don't we have multiple models, different models of schooling in our city? Like, how are we number one in higher education, but we can't get right in public education? Do we not have perfect models throughout the city that we can, try something with, experiment with, little projects that we can set up? Because I'll be willing all day, sign my kid up, put my kid in that class. We have GE. Why isn't GE, putting some money in, or putting some time and energy and effort in to building up one of our schools, to have a school with children working with employees of GE to learn about engineering or electricity or whatever the hell GE does, except for evade taxes. Other than evade taxes, like, maybe you can teach us how those tax loops too, GE. Like, with all of these companies in the city, I don't understand why we don't utilize them and have 6 or 7 or 25 different schools that cater to independent projects. Like, I'm sorry, that just makes sense, doesn't it? If you have 126 schools and all 126 or 36 are, let's try something different. And I know we do have some pilot schools. I'm not taking that away. We do have some schools that are outside of the box, but in 2016, I'm going to need a lot more outside of the box schools. 617-282-0062, go rise and call you live.
Good rising. I am listening to you this morning, and I just wanted to say that Councilor Jackson lived on Scholar Street. His mother was a daycare provider. Rose, she was a good woman. His father was an activist, a strong advocate for the African American community. Councilor Jackson is the only city councilor representing the District 7 without help of the community. Let's think about that. What are we not doing to help Tito, help us, help ourselves? Let me just say this to you. Tito might have went to Brighton High, but Tito lived on Schuyler Street. I lived on Cheney Street. I went to school from Madison Park. His sister with me, her and I went in 3 classes together from the 9th, 10th to the 11th grade. And his brother also, we went to Madison Park. So we were kids from the community. We lived up in the neighborhood. So whatever that editorial lady, that's just like watching television. Tell lies to your vision. See, so this was tell lies to your ears so that you can help dismantle live in District 7 and get behind Tito and help us help ourselves, we're going to continue to get editorials like this where they bash them. And let's keep it real. You know how you watch television, like I said, and television shows lies to your visions, and they want you to put your children in front of the television as opposed to putting them in front of a book and teaching them how to learn. And they want to keep your parents working 3 and 4 jobs so that they don't have time with their children. So if you ain't got time with your children, the streets got them. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope you have an amazing day. 617-282-0062. Good Rising Caller, you're live.
Hi, good morning.
Hey, Miss G. How you doing, baby?
I'm good. Listen, I want to put the focus on the school committee. There's a big old school committee that I know when my children were in school, I lived at the school committee. And I think that when children are enrolled in school, that their first beginning is their basic education, and then they go on to progress. It's called progressive education. And I think that parents spend your time down at the school committee, working with, also too, I have friends that are teachers, working with the teachers and then working with the school committee, so that way your children can obtain the education they need. Point out their difficulties in learning, point out their difficulties with working with teachers. If they have a problem with a teacher, just stay on the school committee. Nobody focuses on that. Everybody talks about going down to the city council or going down to the school committee and weigh them out. That's what the school committee's there, to hear your gripes. You're a parent. You have your child enroll in school to learn, and you want to keep up with what they're learning. That's the only thing I got to say.
Thank you, Miss G. You know I love and appreciate you. Hope you have an amazing day today. 617-282-0062. Good Rising Caller, you're live.
The Rising. These 2 last callers are making a lot of sense. And the problem is that parents, he's right, working 2 or 3 jobs. She's right, school committee. No one is in parent counseling. No one is there to advocate for their children. If a child comes home to complain that, a teacher or a subject is hard, it's like, get it together. No, how can we get it together? Is it the teacher not providing the correct foundations to understand it? Is the teacher certified to teach that program or that subject? So it has to do with parents. And that's really the bottom line. Parents, if you do not advocate for your kids, how should the kids advocate for themselves? You are to teach them. So how is it not possible? Even voting. Voting was a couple of weeks ago. Not so many people went out to vote. Why? You worried about Trump and you worried about Hillary. Your local people were supportive. People don't realize Congress has run the whole entire country. It's not the president. It's the Congress people. So if you don't go out and vote, especially for your local people to fight for you in the Senate and House, nothing is going to change. And that is a big problem with our community. Our community, go and register to vote. If you're not a offender that you cannot vote, everyone should be voting. Everyone should be out there. Public education is a big question. You can have charter schools, you can have private schools, you can have medical, but when all of these schools decide to renege their contracts on charter schools, lose all their money, where the kids going? Back to the public school with no money, with no seating, and then no parents can say anything because guess what? You didn't vote. You were so worried about sending kids to medical and charter schools to do your job, but you got to do your job first because the school is not there to teach. You got to educate your kids from day one. Day one, they have ABCDs for people that can't afford private schools. There's things out there, and parents have to do the work. Parents, not the kids, the children. Parents have to do the work. Please, guys, go register to vote. Get out there to vote. You should have voted a couple weeks ago, but it doesn't matter. Vote, and vote.
So it does matter because you still have time. You got to be mindful of what's going on out here. You got to be mindful of what's going on with your children's education. We need to be more involved. And I get it. I get being busy. I get being that parent that works 2 and 3 jobs. I can't tell you how many, meetings my mother didn't show up for. How many, not even meetings, but just like school trips or anything. Like, she didn't have time. There wasn't any time for that. I have to go to work. I'm trying to get this education. Like, I'm trying to do these things to make sure you have a roof over your head, you have food in your stomach, and I can sustain your life. I don't have time for this. You go to school, do your job. I'm going to do my job. And I think as a parent, a lot of us have that same mentality. I'm going to do my job. You go to school and learn. That's your job. But what if our babies are in institutions that aren't properly teaching them because they don't learn? They're not a fish learning how to climb up a tree. Like, it's not working for them. What do we do then? The Rising Caller, you're live.
Good morning, Tayla. How you doing?
I'm super fantastic. How are you?
Excellent. I just wanted to say, back in the 40s, Dr. Carter G. Woodson already wrote about this subject. Dr. Carter G. Woodson is the second African American to earn a PhD, obviously. We all know him for creating Black Negro Week, which essentially created Black History Month. But more importantly, he wrote The Miseducation of the Negro. And he said that the current system of education, which basically is still the system we have today, merely teaches us to assimilate or be destroyed. So when we do not curtail education for a genetic learner, somebody that learns with their hands, learns by doing, we don't curtail education towards the way people are acclimated to acquire information. The premise that you're bringing up is absolutely a problem. So just speaking to some of your callers who are saying blame the parents or put responsibility on the parents, it doesn't matter if the parents are given, 150% of participation or are leaving them occupationally orphaned. If you have a system that basically is teaching people how to acclimate and assimilate to a society that, one, doesn't exist, we don't live in an industrialized society, then the problem is the system itself, and that is what needs changing. Participation in a obsolete system or obsolete educational system still is a problem, whether you have parent participation or not.
Thank you. I love and appreciate you, and I think you bring home a point that I was attempting to make. Like, if our children are fish, they're not going to know how to climb up a tree. And that's what that baby in the poem said. I played it twice already. I'll play it again before we leave up out of here. But I really honestly believe we need to start teaching our children the way in which they learn. We need to start putting our children in seats and telling them, figure it out. That's my number one phrase for them children. Figure it out. I don't care, figure it out. But at the same time, I am that active parent that says, let's incorporate some websites. Let's incorporate some, like the Rosetta Stone type learning. For crying out loud, the government teaches its employees how to learn a second language by Rosetta Stone, which is not writing this word over and over again, but by those memes, going back to the Fifth Element. Like, we need to catch up. Our 150 years ago, the classrooms look the same today. Like, we need to catch up. We need our children are technology based. Why are we not teaching them through technology? I have a niece that attends school out, and she's a Mecco kid. She needed a $1,500 laptop, all types of iPads and iPods. I have a cousin that goes to school out in Stoughton. The baby's in like 3rd grade. Mandatory Google Drives to keep her work. Like, they're teaching our children to be ready for success. This is what the workplace is doing. You have a shared document amongst your peers, your colleagues that you're currently working with. You're sending emails. One of the things that frustrates me the most is that we test our children We are testing our babies for what? To, and the numbers are coming. Oh, they take these tests and the scores are skyrocketing. I bet. Because if I'm only teaching you what's on that test, what I want you to pass, what I want you to know on that test, but when you come out into this real world, do you know how to balance a checkbook? Do you know what your excise tax is? Do you know what to expect when you're finna buy a house? How about to buy a car? How can we test our children on the things that they're supposed to know in this world, coming into this world as a productive citizen, versus having our children come into the world being robots and remembering things and remembering facts and remembering lies? I recently learned that the state of Massachusetts, for our MCAS, for our testing, we don't test our kids on history. You want to know why? Because we don't know what the hell to teach our kids. Do we teach them the fact that the Japanese were in concentration camps? Do we teach them the fact that the Indians were living here prior to Christopher Columbus finding America? Do we say that Boston was the first place that had slaves? Like, what are we supposed to tell our kids for history? If we don't test on it, we certainly need to we need to revamp the history department. Because if you haven't seen your child's history department, there is nobody that looks like you. If you didn't know that, please go do your due diligence. 617-282-0062. Good Rising, Caller, you live.
Good rising, Taylor.
Talk to me, baby.
You're right exactly about that. All we're doing is regurgitating what we listened, and that's not really learning. But I want to go back to a few calls back. It's the environment. We gotta get our kids outside, learning an environment. It's an African thing. That's what it always has been. And there's even studies showing that children, when they're learning outside, it intensifies their development. When they're learning about different plants, like you said, the Russian people that came here that were, kind of dumbfounded that we didn't know the things about like that. And also, I want to mention people out there, all listeners, get more plants into your home. There are studies showing that when children grow up in the home with lots of plants around, it intensifies their living. I mean, not only does it intensify your living environment, because plants take in CO2 and they give off oxygen, cleans the air. They got plants out here that take in the benzene and all these chemicals that we're breathing in our homes that we don't know about, that are VOCs in our paint and some of the clothing that we wear is very, very toxic. So, definitely, we've lost connection to nature, not just outside, but in our homes. I visited someone recently. I was helping someone move. It was one of my mother's older friends. And in there, she had so many plants in this one area. It was like a green room because I had something. There was something going on in that area, Taylor. And, it's funny, like, there's nothing more under the sun. But when I was, unbeknownst to them, I was sitting there like, oh, my God. There's something going on in here. And most people that you go to now, they have no plants in the home whatsoever. Now you're thinking about plants. Plants absorb sound. They give off fresh air. This is something to look into, man. We stepped outside. And black people, there's no mistaking that the plant, the earth resembles your skin. So, let's get back to nature, man. And everybody else rocking the plants but us. So, I don't know. Have a blessed day, Taylor.
Thank you. I totally agree as far as plants are concerned. I do think that plants, one of the things that we know for a fact, it's not a secret, George Washington Carver was a scientist and an inventor in the early 1900s. He developed hundreds of products using peanuts, but one of the things that a lot of people don't know is that he used to talk to plants. And he said that when you talk to them, they grow faster. When you talk to them, they talk back to you. And people thought he was crazy. Like, people thought that he was a little insane because he would rather talk to his plants than have a conversation with a lady. So things that you don't know when you're, a weirdo and you watch documentaries. He used to talk to his plants. And, in my home, we have multiple plants, and I have this affinity for, I don't go to the store and purchase plants. I want a piece of somebody else's plant that I can then, grow. So most of the plants in my house used to be stems. And then from the stems, they started growing roots. And then from them growing roots, the leaves started. Like, I like it from the beginning. I want to begin the life in my house. And Azaria names them. I can't tell you the names of our 6 plants, but I think it's instrumental in our children's lives for them to know how to use their green thumbs, for them to know how to plant, for them to be familiar with, the cycle of life. And not just the cycle of life, but God forbid an asteroid hits and all of humanity has to begin all over again. Could your child survive? Or would your child be out here, killing in order to survive? Do you know how to plant food? Do you know how to fish? Do you know how to hunt? I go back to watching a video of Killer Mike at a Georgia little town hall meeting. He's like, listen, y'all want a revolution? Y'all can't fish, you can't hunt, you don't know how to shoot, you don't know self-defense, and you don't know how to plant a damn thing. So what you want a revolution from? Because you're dependent upon everything that you complaining about. What is real education? To me, that is real education. Learning how to hunt, learning how to fish, learning how to shoot, knowing what these plants and animals' names are, knowing that bees were just put on the endangered species list, and if we don't have bees, we don't have life. Like, these are the things that our children need to know, not learning how to fill in these bubbles to take this test to get us some more funding. And it's called accountability and assessment. But when you look up those words, I'm so glad God brought me Sabir Bay and brought me to the realization that etymology is a completely, like, I was thinking etymology, good rising instead of good morning. But as far as words are concerned, we need to get us a dictionary, either handheld, unabridged dictionary, or you need to get you a dictionary app and start looking at these words that you use on a daily basis. So we have, when it comes to testing our children to find out whether or not they're learning what they're supposed to learn, it's called assessment and accountability. When you look up assess or assessment and account or accountability, these are nothing more but numbers giving each child like a worth, their financial worth. Your education, you passing this test, here is a stamp of your financial worth. Let's assess and account for your knowledge. Bringing back into the financial aspect of it, the money portion of it. My child is not your dollar. My child is not taking these tests for you to sit here and assess and account their worth to you. No, my child needs to learn what my child should learn, and I don't know, as a parent, I don't know what that is. But I need help. We need help. Bringing it back to the basics. Bringing it back in circle. Teaching our children the way that we're supposed to be learning and not sitting in seats remembering everything. Good rising, caller, you're live.
Good rising again. There was one last point that I didn't have the opportunity to make, and I'm glad you just touched on accountability. And as you talked about the school committee, now the voters have been disenfranchised with regard to the school committee. The school committee has no accountability to the parents because they were appointed 20 years ago by the same mayor who removed Black history and civics from the school. Now, but a child doesn't know where they came from, don't know where they're going, and have not a clue how government works, then no leadership is going to rise up from among that generation of children. 20 years is a generation coming to maturity, and there's no one that's going to rise up from that generation and take the reins of political leadership because they took civics out of the school. And now the school committee are serving at the pleasure of the mayor rather than the pleasure of the voters of the constituency. So, it is set up the education system for failure right from the beginning. So, when there's another citywide election, we need to put that issue back on the referendum and let the voters decide whether they want to keep this appointed school committee, which consists of sycophants of the mayor who kiss the ring, or do we want an elected school committee that's accountable to the parents?
Takwa, thank you. That's where I want to see my assessment and my accountability at, on the back of a committee person's back, helping me to dictate and decide what's best for my child. So Takwa, thank you, love you, and appreciate you. Good rising, caller, you're live. Super fantastic. How are you?
Good. Hey, I just wanted to chime in on the topic about, in my opinion, one of the most important things that we can do until this whole system is figured out and whichever way it goes is basically teaching the kids, our children, the fundamentals of reading, actually to have them to like reading, to ask questions. Because I realize that the biggest thing the school does, they don't really want the children to become each individual. They put them in a class and they're all supposed to behave exactly the same with completely different backgrounds and completely different people, and they're all expected to be exactly the same, like robots. Sometimes the children are born, not just because they don't understand or because they're stupid. They are born. They're not challenging. They're not asking questions. You're supposed to ask questions and then do your research. When the children read, they basically become to love it because they know they can get the information themselves by just reading. They don't need for the teacher to give them the information. They don't need for the parents to give them information. It broadens their horizon. It opens up their minds to new worlds and basically new opinions in the way other people think.
Yes. Yes. I'm with you when you're right. I'm not going to argue with you when you're right. What does education look like? We, the parents, need to take control over this. And we need to dictate what our children are learning. We need to have control over curriculum. Again, I want to go back. We are over here passing these tests and teaching our babies what's on this test. But when they come out of high school, can they balance a checkbook? Do they know what stocks and bonds are? Do they know how to invest? Do they know what purchasing a house looks like? Do they know again, I go back to the sewing and the cooking and the home ec and taking home ec and understanding, the health and wellness of my body and knowing, different foods and coming out of high school having a CPR card. Like, what happened to those days? What happened to those days? What happened to going outside and learning about the plants and animals and the earth sciences and the rocks and the granite, like in the world that we live in, and not this fiat, this fake system that feels like, the Disneyland, the feel-good Americas, like fishing, hunting, firing. Make sure you give Firearm Fred a call. Again, one more time, if you have not seen it in the banner. I know they use it for, advertising, but I'm using it because I want you to wake up and realize that the income of Boston blacks is $4.3 billion. We are worth $4.3 billion to Boston. Again, as far as clothes and services are considered $209 million, we could be spending that with a Josepha, with couples boutique, couples therapy, with, Claude Michel, or, I can't even think of all of the different designers that we have here in Boston that could be making your clothes. Appliances, $27 million. 27 million. Beverages, non-alcoholic, 43 million. Alcoholic, 28 million. Books, 2 million. 2 million on books. We need to get that number up. Cars and trucks, 224 million. Computers, 50 million. Consumer electronics, 35 million. Contributions, and I believe that's the contributions that we give to our church. If your church isn't doing what your barbershop, Everything Is Real, is doing, when the barbershop has more community meetings and more community events than your own church, you have a problem. When your barbershop is doing more than your church, you have a problem. Feeding the babies, you have a problem. $195 million you're giving to the church. Do they bank black? Do they give back to the congregation? Education, $62 million. Entertainment and leisure, $28 million. Food, 698 million. Are you going to big box businesses? Are you going through drive-thrus? Or are you stopping off at a Zaz? Are you stopping off at what's this the burger place in Lower Mills? Like, we have so many different businesses that we own, where we cook, where the food is not bland and you're not eating rice pilaf but some good rice and peas. $698 million. Gifts, 71 million. Healthcare, 252 million. Household furnishing and equipment, 150 million. Housewares, 4 million. Housing and related charges, 2,340 million. Insurance, 203 million. Media, for good rising, you can always donate to a TaylaAndre. I need it. Media, 96 million. Miscellaneous, 59 million. Personal, when we spend miscellaneous 59 million on random but yet on education we're only spending 62 million, we have a problem. We need to own our flaws. We need to own our faults and realize that we need to make changes. I'm talking to the man in the mirror. What are you sitting here complaining about that you could be altering yourself? Personal and professional services, 49 million. Personal care products and services, 76 million. That's all your weaves. That's all your makeups. Do you go to one of your neighborhood hair supplies? Do we have a black-owned neighborhood hair supply store here in Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan? Do you shop there? Telephone services, 180 million. Tobacco products and smoking supplies, all your weed, your cigarette, your rollies, 34 million. Toys, games, and pets, 27 million. Travel, transportation, and lodging, 71 million. We are worth 4.3 billion in the Boston area alone. What are you doing with your money? I want to give a huge shout out to Faith's Naturals Beauty. Don't forget to get you some Pum Pum Wash. The Teeth Whitener. She has this new face mask that is absolutely amazing. Don't forget, anything charcoal related is good for your body. Draws out your toxins. She has hair growth. If you have alopecia or you've been braiding your hair so long you ain't got no more edges, she got some stuff to help you out. Don't forget, Thursday night I will be at ZC Boston this and every Thursday night, trying to bring some some livelihood to the place. I love ZC Boston, great atmosphere. We also have big city DJs that are going to be there on Thursday, so come out, show some love, and tip your bartender. Shout out to Couples Therapy. They have some amazing pieces. They're right here in our neighborhood, and they're open until 10 p.m. on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to compete with the mall. So instead of going to the mall, just go down to Couples Therapy because they'll still be open to get you ready for whatever club or party night you're about to have. I want to give a huge shout out to the Rebirth, the Work to Do. Prentice Power will be in Boston on November 19th. Please get your tickets. Shout out to Reggie B and all that he does. We, you, us have work to do. He gonna kill me because I mess it up like I always do. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you so much. I don't think you guys understand how much I love you. And I want nothing more but for us to be a better us. And that is only going to work if we take a look in the mirror and see what is it that we can be doing better and then work on those things. We have a lot of work to do, baby. A lot of work. And we just got to do it together. We got to work together. We have to uplift each other. We have to inspire each other. And we have to, we have to get rid of that negative self-talk. The negative self-talk that we do to each other and the negative self-talk that we impose upon ourselves as well as our children. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it. Shout out to Miss G. Love and appreciate you. The people versus the school system. I'm going to go ahead and reach out to City Councilor Tito Jackson. You guys know I love him. It was asked of me to read that opinion piece. I read it. And we're going to go ahead and have Tito Jackson, City Councilor Tito Jackson's personal opinion in the studio, hopefully this week, if not within the next few weeks. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. Start thinking about what education looks like for the future. What does education look like for your child? And communicate that with your city councilors, with the superintendent, with the mayor, and with your child. We, us, you, and I have work to do. Mwah.
Fish, by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today on trial we have...
I'm going to go ahead and post that because I don't know whether or not YouTube and Facebook is going to let me post it without them claiming all of my work as their own. So I'm going to go ahead and repost this on the Wake Up with TaylaAndre page. Well, just the TaylaAndre Facebook page. So you guys can watch it for yourself.
Albert Einstein once said, everybody's a genius.
Oh, I have like the Hindu version. Hold on a minute. They have the Spanish version.
I know what you done. Maybe you...
Hallelujah! Is this the English version?
But if you judge a fish...
Okay, yeah. Okay. Alright, it's called I Just Sued the School System. I just sued the school system. Poem about education. So this is currently on TaylaAndre's Facebook page. Don't forget, any of the stories that I read, I post on Good Rising, Good Rising. Any of the stories that I read, I post on Wake Up with TaylaAndre, which is a little different than the TaylaAndre. It's so just that my Facebook page doesn't get cluttered. I posted on the Wake Up with TaylaAndre, so you guys can go, you know, be able to have access to the stories that way, without hitting your Facebook with story after story after story. You can just go there and read the stories on your own time.
See when you get her. There you go.
I'm good.
What's wrong with you? You're in a mood recently.
I am. Because our kids are losing.
You say you what?
Our kids are losing.
Our kids are losing?
Yeah.
Losing
So,
what?
as far as education is concerned.
As far as what?
Education is concerned.
So, okay. But this is not a new phenomenon.
It's not new. It's just a new school year and a lot that I'm dealing with the kids' school, and not just their school, but
What schools are they in?
Edward Burke Charter on American Legion.
Okay. Charter schools are supposed to be a little better than
Yeah, they're a little better than BPS, but I'm not fighting for my kids. I'm fighting for all kids, and not all kids are treated fairly in that school. There's kids that don't have parents like me that are missing out.
You can't. See, okay, there's a very common misconception about schools. And it happened I think in the late 70s, early 80s. Well, maybe middle 70s. School's a place to learn, not to discipline.
Well, right now they're a place to discipline, not to learn.
And that's the problem. That's the fucking problem. We are sending our kids to school. Not we.
Hold on, before
a lot
you
of people are sending their
give
kids to
your
school.
opinion. Hold on. Let me not have you on air. So as far as the rest of the news are concerned, give me about an hour, and I'll post the rest of them on the Wake Up with TaylaAndre page. As far as the resources, I'll post that on the just Tayla page, so you guys can get that directly. Everything else you'll have to go, I guess, back office. Not really, just the shows page. Key me in. I don't know how you do it. 3 a.m. in California. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for always watching and always being attentive. I hope you have an amazing day today. Shout out to Josh. Mwah.